Tom Farndon is the Director of Client Experience at Impact for Good, a company that specializes in connecting corporations to community initiatives via innovative team building programs. He is currently in the nonprofit management program at Columbia University and will be graduating this spring. After over 16 years in event facilitation, Tom has come to appreciate the thrill of travel and the importance of community engagement in cities across the globe. When he's on the ground in New York City, Tom enjoys cooking, mixing cocktails, and taking the time to walk the city streets. During his talk, Tom will explore innovative ways to spur employee engagement so that companies can create a platform of pattern of sustained impact, benefiting both workers and nonprofits around the world. This presentation will serve as a call to action to reckon with your own ability to make meaningful contributions to your communities and equip you with new ways of how to do so. The title of his talk is Corporate Social Responsibility, How It Must Evolve. Please join me in welcoming Tom.
Thank you very much, Sam. And then let me get to my portion of things here. Okay. So, everyone, thank you for being here. And let's get ourselves started. So the first thing that I'd like to do is get you logged into a bit of an audience response system so that I can get some answers as we go. So everybody, please get your phones out, because you can scan a QR code that's going to appear right up on that screen, and you can just scan that, just put your name in there. Don't worry, I'm not tracking any data. Just give me your name so we can talk with one another. Because the first question that I have for all of you is going to be, how many people here remember what doing a random act of kindness was? You can show of hands, you can do it on the phones. But yeah, it was something that was really nice. It's over 40 years old now, actually. And what it was that it was an inspiration for you to do something kind for somebody else. And we can even see on the screen just how many people are answering this one right here. And we can put it up right there. So yes, pretty much everybody. That's good. I got a lot of people who like to do good and do nice things, which I like. So with that, you'll notice that they not only spur you to good action, but they give you structure. They give you an opportunity to say, hey, I can incorporate this into my daily life. I can incorporate this into myself as a human being, doing something good for others. Now, a question for all of you, this is like, what way do we do good for other people? And I have a poll to ask and find out what exactly you can do. So look at your phones once again and answer this one for me. So how have you given back to your community? Have you volunteered at a soup kitchen? Have you done pro bono work, maybe as part of your skill set? Donated financially, participated in social activism, a combination of the above, or maybe none of the above just yet. Now, I ask you because there are so many different ways for you to express yourself in doing something good for your community. And I can see with all the people answering, we've got all sorts of ways to give back. And that's another thing that I love to see. But how many of you now have done that as part of maybe a corporate event? So I'm going to once again ask you to take a look at your phones and answer this for me. How many of you done this during a work event? Yes or no? I've given back, I have not given back. Still, a lot of people have still done something through their place of work. A place where they can say, hey, we want to give you the opportunity, the platform to do something good and to give back. So it's good to see that at least a majority of you have done all that together. Now, it's good to have this experience of kindness, but this also talks about structure. Now, that random act of kindness might seem random, but it was by design to inspire people to give back. And corporations also do this in a certain way, although probably a little more obviously. Internal days of giving, mentorships for local and after-school programs, grants for education programs, paid volunteer hours, matching donations, just a few of the ways that businesses have inspired and outlined how they can contribute to communities as a whole. In a sense, it's a benefit akin to your healthcare, your vision, your dental. Your company covers your ability to get some teeth cleanings and to get your eyes checked. But for corporate social responsibility, or CSR, it's a benefit that gets you emotionally and physically invested in your communities and beyond, which reverberates within yourself. Now, how many people here feel good or feel a sense of fulfillment whenever they have volunteered? I'm going to ask you that once more right here. Yes, or maybe something else. And it's okay, because we all have different lived experiences. And it's good to see, again, such positive reinforcement. It does feel good, but one of the cool things about it feeling good is that it also has measured health benefits. In fact, we'll take a look right here. The definition of all of these health benefits are only happening when you meet a certain threshold. You start to feel good. You start to have those health benefits of whether or not you have lower instances of depression. You have better mobility later in life because you've been moving around and volunteering. But with this, that only hits when you get to a certain place. When you volunteer with 2 or more organizations, with 100 hours or more total volunteers, or at least 40 hours of volunteering each year. Now, this threshold is what you need to meet in order to get those benefits. And sometimes, from a corporation standpoint, this may seem a little daunting. From an individual standpoint, it's maybe volunteering at a soup kitchen, maybe once a weekend for a couple hours every week of the year. But for corporations of several hundred people or more, suddenly that's tens of thousands of volunteer hours that you provide to all of your employees. But how do we hit that threshold together? How do we hit it and make a difference for our workers and for our communities in total? But in order to get a better picture of the kind of giving that we give in the United States, I'd like to draw your attention to this. 64% of all giving, of almost $500 billion in 2022, came from individuals. And second was foundations, $105 billion, about 21%. Third were bequests at 9% or $45 billion. And last were corporations at 6%. Now you would wonder, the idea of corporate social responsibility, should this be a concern? I think it's not. The thing is, though, for years I've seen the statistics, and for years I've struggled with it. For almost a decade, I've done corporate social responsibility team building programs, and I've struggled with the idea, is this enough? Is what I do scratching the surface of the need? Is it actually being meaningful? Is it being seen as something more nefarious, something maybe greenwash? Maybe I'm just putting up a front just to make people believe that I'm doing something good, and it was something that tore at me, that it was performative. But a few years ago, I did realize that that was a very narrow-minded view of it. It was shortly after an event. A client had built some STEM education materials they had donated to a local New York City nonprofit. And then we had the nonprofit representative. They came on site. They thanked us. We had a moment where we felt that we did some good. It was a group of young interns. It was during the summer. It was a very nice time. And then later on, I got a call from that same beneficiary that said, thank you so much for arranging for those young people to come and teach the kids about the materials they donated. And I said, I had nothing to do with that. I have no idea what you're talking about. And she said, who was it? I called our client. They had nothing to do with it either. It turns out that these people took initiative. They did it themselves. They were the ones that said, you know what? I was inspired by this. I'm going to go out and I'm going to help these kids. And that's when I realized that 6% is not that bad. Because it's that 6% that inspires that 64%. It gives them a platform, an opportunity to see how they can make that difference, to see what change they can enact in the world. And that was a first step because it was a CSR event. Now, through my time here at Columbia's School of Professional Studies, I've encountered the concept of CSV, otherwise known as creating shared value. I learned about it in my innovations class with Richard Feiner, and it was something that has changed my viewing of what CSR is. Now, the term was first kind of talked about. It was back in 2011, Harvard Business Review. It was by Mark Kramer and Mike Porter, and they tell you this, and I will share this on the screen so you can all see what this quote is. Now, shared value is not about personal values, nor is it about sharing the value already created by firms. It's a redistribution approach. So what I took this to mean was that it's not just the corporation in the giving or in the nonprofits in the receiving. It's what they combine together and the value they create to give to those around them, to the workers and the people who benefit from those services. Another concept was collective impact. Another great one that the same people had kind of talked about before. This time it was Mark Kramer with Mark Fitzer, and another op-ed a few years later from the ecosystem of shared value. And for this one, collective impact does not mean that all participants have to do the same things. All people can come together in different ways to enact change. You don't always need to be aligned in the exact same way to make a difference. You can all be collectively impacting the community just by wanting to and going your own pathway to get there. So CSV and collective impact can and should now be the guidepost for what CSR can do. Because if we look deeper down, the next evolutionary step, instead of looking at the big corporations merging together and creating initiatives that create societal change, instead, what you need to do is get down to the individual and what spurs them on. We come across that natural evolution. We hone our focus from the company at large to the individual experience. I've been blessed by working with so many people to see that they infuse their very soul into the good that they want to do. They search for connections at every level. They want to convey that being a good corporate citizen is just in their culture. It's what they do. It's a necessary part of being their employee there. It's no longer just an in-kind donation. It's the value that we create as a potential to leverage our work to a cause we care deeply about. It's cybersecurity companies creating STEAM labs across America and India. It's going to be educational websites providing their materials for free so people can learn to teach. It's big tech forming accurate database of disabilities and being able to make a more equitable atmosphere. It's hundreds of other companies doing just that same thing. And yes, there will always be accounts of greenwashing. There will always be an idea of insincerity when a big corporation does something good. But it's only a bad thing if we let it keep us from giving. If we let it keep us from doing the right thing and doing well. We should never be afraid of the label we receive because of it. We should be afraid of not making that difference in the first place. Because after all, a better bottom line for our workers means that they are more financially comfortable to be more emotionally available for the people in their communities. So they need to invest. They need to invest in the employee's ability to give back. The idea of professional development, teaching people how to speak, teaching people how to use Excel. We need to be charitable development. We need to teach them how to vet nonprofits. We need to teach them how to get out there and make differences for people. We need to teach them that they are not isolated just because their company hasn't done something yet doesn't mean that they can't. So let's not gatekeep this idea of how to be a good corporate citizen. Let's teach everybody this, because as a seed in the wind, every time they move and take root, they make a wonderful difference wherever they go. So I want to end with something for all of you here. Because after any corporate social responsibility event, so long as you get that one person who can start, who is inspired, you're going to be making a difference. So the quote I'll leave you with is this final one here. Not all profit is equal. Profits involving a social purpose represent a higher form of capitalism. So if you can do something that is socially good and beneficial for all, that is something we need to do all together. And I'll leave you with one final story to kind of cement this. And the story goes back, it was an event. We were giving back bikes. And there was giving back bikes to those who were unhoused. And I had an attendee who was in themselves at one point unhoused. And they gave not only the bike, but a written note that said, I have been where you are, and I'm waiting for you to join me where I am now. And that connection, that's what it was. It wasn't just the bike. It wasn't just the thing with the two spokes and the wheels and the gears, and I'm probably messing up whatever is in a bike, but it's fine. But what it was that connection. It was that reassurance that they were able to connect and know that someone was with them the whole way. So the last question on your phones, everyone, is this. Are you ready to change the world with me today? So let's take a look and see what that answer could possibly be. Yes or yes button yellow. Everyone, thank you for your time.